Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is torch infections in pregnancy. So, what do you mean by torch? What is torch? So, torch is toxoplasmosis. O is other infections like syphilis, parvovirus, hepatitis B, varicella zoster, etc. R for rubella, C for cytomegalovirus, H for herpes simplex virus 2. So, torch, T for toxoplasmosis, O for other infections like syphilis, hepatitis B, varicella zoster, etc. R for rubella, C for cytomegalovirus, and H for herpes simplex virus 2. This is an important infection in pregnancy. We can see today also so many cases we can see of torch infection, specifically rubella infection is we can see many cases. So, toxoplasmosis. Basically, it is a protozoal infestation, parasitic infestation. It is an intracellular parasite that is known as Toxoplasma gondii. So, this infestation occurs to the mother through various routes. So, how the infection occurs, route of transmission. Basically, the soil gets contaminated with the oocyst of this Toxoplasma gondii. It contaminates soil, vegetables, fruits that are raw present on the ground, and whenever these are not properly washed or taken, then it will transmit the infection. Again, undercooked or raw meat. So whenever it is consumed or handled improperly, then it will transmit the infection of this Toxoplasma gondii to the particular female. Again, so many outbreaks of toxoplasmosis have been seen in link with unfiltered water. Means contaminated water might be the source for this toxoplasmosis. So here we can see the root of infection mode of transmission. So we will start from this soil, water, and grass contaminated with the oocyst of Toxoplasma gondii. So what will happen? Then unwashed fruits and vegetables that are present with this oocyst, they are improperly washed. Whenever taken, then it will cause infection to the mother. Again, these are ingested in these infected fruits or vegetables are ingested by the animals like rats, and these rats are again taken or eaten by the cats, and cat is a pet animal for so many people. So whenever this oocyst is get ingested by this through rat's body, it get ingested in the cat's body, so it will get excreted in the feces of the cat. And whenever this fecal matter or cat litter is improperly handled, then the mother will get infected with this toxoplasmosis. So, how the route of transmission? Soil, water, and grass contaminated with the oocyst of toxoplasma. So, whenever we eat the fruits and vegetables, and if at all it is not properly washed, then the chances of this toxoplasmosis is much more. Again, the rats and animals will eat. The cat will eat that infected rat, and again this Toxoplasma gondii will be excreted through the cat's feces. And the cat is a pet animal, so whenever this feces or litter of cat is improperly handled, then the pregnant female will get affected or infected with this Toxoplasma gondii. Again, handling or ingesting of contaminated meat means raw contaminated meat, if at all handled, or ingested uncooked or improperly cooked food is handled, then the mother will get infected with this Toxoplasma gondii. This generally the mother usually are symptomatic, but the infection will get transmitted through placental circulation to the fetus. So it is dangerous for the fetus basically. So clinically, female generally asymptomatic, and if the infection gets transmitted to the fetus through uteroplacental circulation, and whenever the birth occurs, if at all the birth occurs, then we can notice the classical triad of chorioretinitis, diffuse nodular intracranial calcification, and hydrocephalus. So classical triad for the neonate, for the clinically for the diagnosis with investigation is chorioretinitis, diffuse nodular intracranial calcifications, and hydrocephalus. So, diagnosis of this uh, toxoplasmosis, basically antibodies are present, immunoglobulins are present. So, presence of IgG antibodies in the fetal, in the neonatal blood is will indicate the congenital infection of this toxoplasmosis. And if at all we have to diagnose during pregnancy, so amniotic fluid amniocentesis has to be done, and amniotic fluid PCR polymerase chain reaction has to be done for the confirmation of diagnosis. Again, brain imaging, CSF analysis, ophthalmologic evaluation for the neonatal infection has to be done. Again, PCR testing of various body fluids and tissues for the mother is also done to rule out any infection during pregnancy, so that it should not get transmitted to the fetus, and generally the life of the fetus is at risk because of this toxoplasmosis. The commonest drug of choice is treatment part is spiramycin 3 grams daily is the drug of choice. So toxoplasmosis mode of transmission is basically through cat's feces or improperly or unwashed fruits or vegetables, undercooked meat, or handling of contaminated meat. And a diagnosis is with IgG present immunoglobulins when they are present in the uh, neonatal circulation, and again in the maternal circulation we can diagnose amniotic fluid PCR, and the testing for the brain imaging and ophthalmologic evaluation has to be done for the neonate. Next one is other infections like hepatitis B, syphilis, and all other infections we will see in next class. Now, the hepatitis B. Hepatitis B basically incubation period is 50 to 180 days, and the virus is hepatitis B virus. Mode of transmission basically hepatitis B it is also called as Australian antigen present in the blood because of this virus. So it is basically an STD. Again, perinatal transmission is also common. That is after birth. It is also common. Transplacental through placental circulation, it may go to the fetus. Contact with blood, contaminated blood, stool, saliva, any body discharge, contaminated body discharge, if at all come in contact with the pregnant female, then she will get infected with this hepatitis B virus. Again, shared results, toothbrushes, towel, or personal items. If at all the female is sharing her personal items with infected person, then also she will get transmitted this infection. And at-risk population is Asians. Asians are at high risk. For us, this is important. Asians are at high risk for this hepatitis B. Again, IV drug users, homosexuals, hemophilics, these are all at high risk for this infection. Organ transplant, blood transfusion, hemodialysis in chronic renal failure, we usually see the dialysis. The patients on dialysis are of generally this of hemodialysis, so they are at risk for hepatitis B. Clinical manifestations, physical findings. Generally, clinically, symptoms patient will present with low-grade fever, nausea, vomiting, anorexia, loss of appetite, jaundice. Jaundice is generally presentation for this hepatitis B virus. Hepatitis B, malaise, weakness, fatigue, loss of appetite, too much weakness. These are the symptoms. On examination, the liver is enlarged, hepatomegaly. The enlarged liver we can see in the hypochondria. Again, maternal and neonatal effects. So maternal effects, premature labor, liver cirrhosis and liver cancer. Again, neonatal also liver cirrhosis and liver cancer. Chances of stillbirth are also there. So 90% of the neonates whenever get infection with this hepatitis B congenitally, then they will be chronically infected with this hepatitis B for the remaining duration of the life, for the whole life. Treatment part, treatment maternal. The pregnant woman who is exposed to hepatitis B virus should be received hepatitis B immunoglobulin. So already infection, if at all present, then she should get proper diet, proper rest, avoid stress, avoid alcohol and smoking, and she should have balanced diet basically, and adequate rest is very important for a pregnant female with hepatitis B. Again, whenever the birth or delivery occurs, the neonate should be get vaccinated with the HPV and hepatitis immunoglobulin for the hepatitis B. Prevention, the first and foremost and the important is hepatitis B vaccination is already available. The dose is at the zero dose means immediate, and after 1 month in a second dose, and third dose after 6 months is generally recommended. This uh, consistent use of barrier contraception is very important to avoid the transmission because it is an STD. So barrier contraceptions are useful in to avoid this infection to be get transmitted. Do not use IV drugs. IV drugs infected needles should not be used. Disposable syringe and needles should be used. And whatever the material used in the hospital should be maximum times disposable. And if at all the repeated use is there, and then generally it should be get properly. Uh, means hygiene should be maintained and properly septic materials or septic material should be used. So. Uh, Personal items should not be shared so that the infection will not be get transmitted. And the commonest habit of tatting, so it is one of the method of piercing somewhat to the skin. So always remember the risk. If at all the whatever the material used is infected with hepatitis B, then the person will get infected with this infection of hepatitis B. And about the health workers, they should use basic self protective kits are available for these infections. So they should use proper kit and proper handle the sharp instruments so that they themselves will not get infected, and so that their family members can be saved from this infection. Next one is rubella. Rubella is basically rubella virus, and MMR, you all know MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella. So this is basically preventive for this rubella and has to be taken by the mother before pregnancy also, so that there will not be risk for this rubella infection to the fetus. So it is transmitted by respiratory droplet, and so by sneezing, coughing, it will get transmitted to the other person. Clinically, the patient will present with rash, malaise, polyarthritis, lymphadenopathy. Polyarthritis, multiple joints are affected and inflamed. Lymphadenopathy is local or generalized. So generalized is possible because lymph node enlargement is there. Also, it may be diagnostic for some of this infection during pregnancy. And very very important, this is an teratogenic infection. So whenever contracted in the first trimester, then the fetus will suffer and suffer by this infection. And generally, there are chances of even complication during pregnancy, and even after delivery, the survival of the neonate is really difficult because of this rubella infection. Again, consequences, abortion, stillbirth, congenital anomalies, so many present because of this rubella infections. Diagnosis is by polymerase chain reactions, all the viral infection as per. This is the diagnostic. MMR is the vaccine that is already available and generally given in early age as a preventive for this infection. Next one is cytomegalovirus, CMV infection. So it is an DNA virus. The transmission, mode of transmission, it is an STD. Again, respiratory droplet infection and transplacental, it may get transmitted to the fetus. Again, it is excreted through urine of the infected mother. Again, it is excreted through cervical discharge, and again, it is present in breast milk. So, what are the complications? We can see abortion is the major complication with the cytomegalovirus. Again, non-immune hydrox IUGR. IUGR is generally present in the in the females who are infected with rubella and stillbirth, microcephaly, intracranial calcification, hepatosplenomegaly, sensory neural deafness, mental retardation, thrombocytopenia, choroidoretinitis. All these are uh, may be present because of the rubella. So many complications are there because of the rubella infection, and in all these five infections, we can say rubella is much more common. So, by investigation point of view, viral culture, DNA, PCR testing of the urine and the secretion has to be done. Again, immunoglobulin M is present in the infected infants. Is the diagnostic for CMV. Next one and last one is herpes simplex virus, which is a DNA virus, and it is present generally in genital tract. It might be the primary infection or it might be the secondary, already present in the body, and it gets flourished during pregnancy, as pregnancy is the one of the stress in the body of the female. And next one, it may be recurrent, means already patient has suffered from the infection and get cured with the herpes simplex, and because of the stress of the pregnancy, patient is recurrently getting the infection. During pregnancy, she got the infection again. It is an STD already. We had seen in gynecology. It is an STD. So, whenever it is present in gynecology, we had already seen infection occurs resulting in virus shedding. We thought it may be symptomatic or it may not be symptomatic. The case may be symptomatic, it may not be symptomatic. So, HSV1 infection, herpes simplex labialis, as we had already seen, whenever patient there is chance for the fetal infection, whenever the vaginal delivery is done, or the infection is neglected in vulval area, then the neonate will suffer from this herpes simplex infection. So this is one of the indication for cesarean section. If at all the herpes simplex is present in the genital tract area, then this is indication for the cesarean section. So we have to look for this. Antiviral drugs, and so many drugs are indicated and is given to prevent all this infection. So torch infection, as we have seen, is very important topic. T for toxoplasmosis, O for others like syphilis and hepatitis B, R for rubella, C for cytomegalovirus, and H for herpes simplex virus. And this is very important, also clinical entity, and you must study this topic, as it is very important academically and clinically also. So this is all about the torch infection. If at all you are having any query, please mention in the comment box. I'll try to resolve it. Resolve it. Thank you. Thank you very much.